background, his nutrition, and he talks nothing about how you have to fulfill his 4 fucking steps in order to have a scientific method, which is totally false.
No,
You
what
don't
he's
have to be
asking
trained
people.
to be a scientist, though. You learn.
It definitely
Yeah,
helps.
that's true.
The
That's
way
true.
you-
It's true. You're right. You're right. These people just think because he hasn't got the academic, because he hasn't got this official stamp through university, therefore everything he say can be completely dismissed. Which I find understand. Which I think is listen. Which I think is a problem with your arrogance. Nothing to do with
No,
like,
Curve is not a classically trained.
Is Brummy a different guy
person.
today? Like, is he arguing
quite
for, like,
intelligent?
I agree,
Sorry?
Moyat. I agree.
So let me see
right
this. So
stuff
when you
today?
get when
Sorry,
you
Moyat,
get like
no,
a
I'm
broken
sorry,
bone
dude.
or something,
I'm
so you get a
stoned.
broken
I
bone or
can't
something.
have
you
two
can-
people at the same time. Two of you talking. Could one of you talk at the same time, please? I know that. What's his name? Lynch or something. I forgot your name. What's your name?
Grim.
Grim. That's it. Lynch. Grim.
Oh.
Grim. You're talking at the same time. But what are you both saying?
No, I was like, isn't that interesting? I was kind of focusing on people I've been talking to in the room, but I was like, Brummy is actually. Is Brummy the same guy today?
I've been
Yeah,
smoking.
because
I've
it's
been
like, I'm
smoking
seeing
a
shit
hell.
that
I'll
actually
tell you
agree
what I've
with
been
today.
doing. So Grim, probably because I've been smoking a hella amounts of weed, and I've literally just been sedated. My mentality has been like, no, nerfed a bit. Yeah, I need to
You
calm
just
me
don't have
down.
the energy to be so combative right now, I guess, right?
There's
That's
just I
great.
realise there's a better way of getting your point across rather than screaming. Yeah, I'm trying.
Yeah, you're killing it right now. Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No, it's fine. I think like I said, it's his arrogance thinking just because it comes from this guy, therefore everything can be dismissed. I think that I mean, I've looked at some data with somebody from the Globe side, and they was going to be, this is some high school stuff. This is some high school stuff with the arrogance that he's got some high altitude balloon footage. And I looked at the data myself, and I said, this says that basically it's dropping down. And basically, from reading the data, I actually drew an accurate depiction of what's happening. And he had a different completely idea, even though it was kindergarten fucking, stuff. And this is just the arrogance. I mean, he's got his kids' homework.
But they're arrogant just as much. So it's just if you're saying it's arrogance on this side, it's arrogance on that side too. When he demands you to answer 3 questions, or he won't even talk to you.
I think because he's trying to say it's because when he asks people that whether the 3 questions, he can then assess the behaviour from the response from people not knowing. Like if you don't know something, the best thing to do is go, you know what, I am well versed in it, I don't quite know. That's what a lot of the people, the intelligent people that I've listened to him debate said. That was their response. Some of the other people were like, what are you asking me a stupid question for? And then it's just an emotional battle. In any which way, it can go a million ways in an emotional battle, but that's what they tend to do.
Because they should be prepared to enter into an honest conversation where it isn't limited. And what they're trying to do is they're using language to limit thought. And they're making it so you can only think in a certain way in response to what you're being asked. And, that, they shouldn't need to do that.
Because there's a thing called natural science and reality, and you have to agree on what you can and cannot distinguish between different things. So the language you use is very important, and also you have to be very refined in terms. So I think it's important that you understand the scientific method inside and out if you're going to claim scientific claims.
What you don't
I think that's partly true, but I think that pretending that quantum eraser's scientific method is what's required for scientific evidence is it's just another way of it's just another example of what I'm talking about. It's a way of using language to limit thought. It's a way of saying I don't have to think about these things because they don't meet this curious standard that this guy on the internet's dreamed up. No one else in the world that subscribes to, but we're going to go with that.
Right. And then you don't know the answers. You're never going to know the answers because he gets to make up and control the answer.
Right.
Not really.
So you never have a shot.
He's controlled the answer before you've given it because it has to fit within certain limits. And that's what I mean about using language to limit thought.
Like I said, can I get a response to this before 4 more people start talking? Like, at the end of the day, I forgot my point because that's what happened. Go on, carry on. Fuck it. Forgot my point.
It helps when you're high on weed,
It does help, man. But that's how much we should be giving a fuck about it right now. Is not really remembering how important it was. What was he saying exactly?
No, but what going back to what you said is you were kind of laying all the arrogance on the globe Earth side, but you got to understand that it's just as bad in some
If not
cases
worse,
on the
if not worse,
if not
yeah.
worse. Yeah, you're right, because and it seems worse to the globe Earth side because you're actually running
They're
into
gonna
a
get all-
wall of
yeah.
arrogance from people who are just wrong, you know. So
Basically, they're
that's
spit in the faces of all the experts and all
Yeah.
the things that have been
Right.
provided, and they basically
Right.
it's kind of like that's collateral damage. Though I think that once you go against the grain, the consensus is throw everything that everything at you, and realistically, it's just certain points that they're trying to pick at, really. And I think that them points should be held value, even if they are absurd. And I think that when you react to it in an absurd way, you actually give it more credit, and that's why a lot of people try not to go on the flat earth shows because they try not to give them any attention to like this. They've got something to it, so they just try and let it die off. But there's no win or lose situation in both scenarios, in my opinion. I think that both are as bad at each other in different ways.
I don't think so. QE's main problem, or QE's main reason for doing this, is that he can say, "Oh, the Cavendish experiment doesn't fit in with my parameters, therefore gravity's wrong. This doesn't fit in with my parameters. The Eratosthenes experiment isn't an experiment, so the Earth isn't
I
flat."
remember now the parameters. I remember what it was. I was going to rebuttal on what's it
The
called?
Eratosthenes experiment doesn't fit in with my
Jem was saying
idea of
they
what.
Jem was saying they had a very high standard, right? Like you're saying, you fit too many
I
parameters.
didn't say that at all. Never said those words or
Created.
anything even remotely close to the meaning of those words
they have
at
a
all.
created standard, a
Very high
fictional standard. It's not.
I said you're using a bizarre standard that is only used by a single person on the internet. That's not a high standard by any means. And you're the one that says, "Oh, you just don't get it, and you're not listening to what I'm saying." I mean, really, Brummy.
Well, at the end of the day, it has to be agreed upon what is actually real and what is not. What you can distinguish and what you cannot. And that's unfortunately, it's a very high standard. It is.
Yeah, but what you don't understand is that the
it's a
body of
standard
evidence.
that none of you comply with for anything at all. All of the things, all of the truth claims that you make about reality, none of them meet that standard. Not a single one.
The ones that when it comes to determining whether the whole universe is created or not, when it comes to ultimate questions, I think that it would be logical to stick with what you know and what you can determine, rather than what you believe or think.
Doesn't matter if you're talking about
I've never seen curvature. Look, I've never seen curvature, so I'd never believe it's there because I've been told it's there. I don't believe it's there because I've been told it. I've never seen it.
Well, that's a different standard.
Exactly.
Now what you're saying is the only things that are true are things that you've seen. If you think that that's a good way to determine facts about reality, then go ahead. But what we were talking about was the absurd, what you called the high standard of quantum eraser, which none of you comply with for anything that you claim to be true ever. Not a single thing meets that standard, and yet you demand it of other people. And that's why it's just dishonest tactics. And has absolutely nothing to do with high standard.
When did I demand that? Why do you keep running off with your lips? Your lips just keep talking absolute shit, don't they, Jem?
You
talk absolute shit. You talk shit, man.
I'll answer your question.
No, I don't care what your answer is. You talk shit. Every time you open your mouth, bollocks.
Well, I'm not just going to listen to you say you talk shit, you talk shit, you talk shit, and you can't come up with any reasoned rebuttal to what I've said. The reason I mentioned that standard, because you were demanding it. You said everything that you have to meet the scientific method and it's a high standard. You absolutely were demanding it. But as usual, as soon as you're challenged on something, you abandon it and start calling people names because you have no way of a reasoned rebuttal. Go ahead, moron.
You're boring to listen to, man. You just jabbered on about absolutely nothing that no one ever fucking said. You twist everything that's been said to you. You're obnoxious.
Does anyone else in this room agree with Brummy's assertion that quantum eraser's scientific method has not been mentioned by him? And I brought it into the conversation and it had nothing to do with what had been talked about. Does anyone agree with that claim? Go ahead, Brian. Go ahead, Brian. Lie. Go and lie on his behalf. Go on.
I'm not lying. It's not QE's method. It's a standard method.
Whatever you want to call it. Did Brummy introduce it to the conversation or did I?
Brummy.
I'd have to think about it. I don't know. I can't remember.
Brummy did.
It's
Brat
not
me, and he said, 'cause
QE's
it's a high
method.
standard.
It is a
Yes, it is.
standardized method.
No, it's not.
When weight loading is testing, they double what the thing has got to carry. That is a standardized method. If it's got to carry 100 ton, it has to be tested at 200 ton. That's a standardized method, and that's what QE is saying. It's a standard method of test.
That's an engineering margin, not a scientific test. The scientific test came up with the engineering standards.
Fucking hell, it's just like before
test.
Am I a Nathan Oakley show or Brian, or I mean an open forum? I don't know which one I'm on. When I get muted and shouted over and fucking twisted and all that.
Brummy, can you answer? Brummy, can you answer QE's first question that he would give to anybody that comes in to the room?
He says his role usually goes a bit like I bet your science acumen is below a 5th grader or something. And then the person goes, what? And he goes, what the fuck did I say? I forgot what his question is. I forgot the question. Something about what does the what is a hypothesis or something? What's the 5 steps of the scientific method? I think or something. I think he asked first 5 steps. Mm-hmm. And then when you get to like the what the fuck is it called? I forgot what it's called, man. So, yeah, hold on. I'm busy anyway. I'm rolling up, so we need to just do one thing at a time. But yeah, he asked them all these mad questions. But when they go through the method, like I said, it's consistently logic. It's true. You know, it's not. This isn't something that he's written up and put in the book of science.
It's definitely he's made up, though.
The way it's described from him doesn't yield good results.
Watched people he demands them to bring citations for to answer just the number one question. They never get past it when I'm there. And so they'll bring the citations in and try to help him understand, and he doesn't accept them. So I don't know what you can do. So
I went through it. When I went through it, I got to the end, and I realised that basically
you don't know.
No, by saying that basically he said, is natural science something you can something? I can't remember the questions, but I answered them, and I did get to the end of the questioning. And basically, it's just basically making a distinction, saying that if you can't like actually test it and stuff like that, then you can't really make definitive claims on it, which is logically sound. The stuff that we see inside the space, yes, in a technical sense, it's science, but it's not science of the natural world. Stuff that you can.
That goes back to what Jim used to talk about, though. When what's the alternative? Just to have a world of people going, we don't know, we don't know. It's not good enough to just say, well, this is what it appears to be based on the evidence we have. Yeah, but we can't. That's silly, Brummy. We can't just teach kids, oh, we don't know, because we don't know 100% if it's this. There's a 0.1% chance it could be something else that's doing this, but 99.9%.
I hear what you're saying.
But this is the tactic.
I'm not saying that people should do that though. Like this is the thing. You guys jump to this conclusion that therefore we should not teach our kids. Like no one said that.
But this is the tactic playing itself out, because now you notice that QE's scientific method has now become synonymous with knowing.
Exactly.
That's how Billy's just pitched it. That if it's not QE's scientific method, we can't say that we know it. And even QE doesn't make that argument.
I can't be asked to explain it to you.
Oh yeah, it's that I don't get it, Brummy. That's what it is.
No, because you're just obnoxious, bro. Like I was talking to someone else about it, but you just take the wrong end of the stick intentionally. It's like you consciously look for the hot end. Why say something?
You said we can't make
whatever, man. Whatever. You're boring me, man. You're boring.
We know. You see, you've just got to block me out because you cannot respond with any reasoning ever. It's just I'm just going to talk over him and tell him how crap he is. And tell him how much I dislike him and how I don't want to engage with him and I was talking to somebody else. But no reasoning, none whatsoever. You just said that we can't make definitive claims, was what you said. We can't say that we know things. That's what you just said. And that was if things don't comport with his stupid method that he did make up, absolutely is just his and no one else's. You're just full of shit, Brummy, that you can't back up.
I've got
even at one challenge you can't deal with.
Of course, there's no such thing as a scientific method or natural science, is there? Of course, there's no natural
Never
science.
said that.
Yeah.
Never said that.
Well, obviously, that's what you just said.
No, I didn't. When did I say that?
You said QE
When did I
made
say
it
the
up.
words? There's no such thing as natural
You
science.
said
I
QE
said
made it up.
Curie's scientific method is his method. It's only his when it's used to define all of science. He's
that's
the
better.
only person on earth that is
Okay,
doing
then.
that.
Good,
The only
good lad.
person.
Good lad.
There-
Good
there
lad
is
to
no other
readdress
reputable
it.
source. There is no other reputable source anywhere which you will find that agrees with him on that. And if there is, prove me wrong.
If you talk louder, it might make more sense.
Well, if I talk louder, people might be able to hear me over your jibber jabber, which is nothing. You're adding nothing to the conversation.
You
Just
don't want
telling
people
me
to
how
hear me.
crap I am again.
You don't want people to hear me. That's why you always have to start picking a fight. You always look for the hot end of the stick. Every single thing I say, you demonise every single thing. It's sad.
All you're doing now is telling me how crap I am. No reasoning, nothing about this argument. It's just you're a terrible person. Every time I speak to you, you're awful. Where's your reasoning, Brummy?
You're demonstrating it right now. You just continue.
Don't back up a fucking single thing you say with anything.
You are my citation. Your behaviour is my citation right now. Right, your behaviour right now is my citation.
Your behaviour is my citation. Your behaviour is my citation. Another flat earth moron.
Tingle, little star.
Blabbing QE's crap and unable to back it up, as usual.
I refuse to explain it to you, but anyone else.
Demonstrating the shitty tactics used in 24/7 can't even stand the first level of challenge when an open conversation is allowed to surround them.
Yeah. Some people are just counterproductive. What can I say?
I hope to be counterproductive.
Exactly. So, you're like a bottomless pit of like dead, rotten corpses. I can't be asked. Just leave it.
You see, you're crap. No reasoning whatsoever. Just your crap.
It was a bit more.
If I call him some names, I won't look like the fucking moron I am that can't back up a single fucking word I'm saying.
Who's pissed in your porridge this morning? Who's pissed in your porridge?
You dishonest fuck. Because you're dishonest.
It was you, Brummy. He was in a good mood.
I'm sorry. Look, mate, calm down. Right, it gets heated in here. I ain't about that no more.
Look, I haven't called you names. You're the one that's called me names at every opportunity that you've had to speak. Constantly.
Every opportunity I've had to speak, you've been there to tear it down. It's a struggle. So
well, I'm sorry. Stop saying stupid shit that's easy for me to tear down. How about that?
You don't understand. You're tearing down a straw man.
You don't understand, Jim.
Yeah.
You're tearing down a straw man. You don't want to get it. That's another thing. You're not really willing to listen and learn and even consider ideas.
I get it. You pretend.
You're like,
you want to pretend that QE's method gets you to natural science, and it's all special, and everyone should use that for their knowledge claims. And if they don't, they can't say that they know something. That's what your argument is. It's stupid.
So what you're saying is basically, work for fucking ISIS, blow up the planets, blah blah blah.
How that's wrong.
So what you're saying is you work for ISIS. Like you just fucking come out with some nonsense. I can't keep up with the amount of bullshit that you come out with. So I can't.
No reasoning whatsoever.
I don't know what to respond to. You're just jabbering on.
Yeah.
What? Which part? What part do you want me to dissect and?
All right, let me explain it to you again, you fucking retard. You really are a fucking moron. You are claiming the only way we can know things is via the use of QE's scientific method. That is bollocks. Do you understand the two positions that we hold on this?
Do you understand the two positions you're holding this? What he's saying is, I never said that QE said that, so I don't recall ever saying that QE's saying this. What I did say is QE has presented the definition of the scientific method, or natural science. I think it's natural science. It's very key that you listen to the word natural, because it's not just science, it's natural science, right? And it doesn't fall into the category of natural science. And it's very, very simple if you listen. If you understand natural science is natural science, and it doesn't fall under the criteria of looking at stuff counts as natural science, it doesn't fall under the criteria. So he's not wrong.
Says who?
He's not wrong.
Says who? Says quantum eraser. And he says it, so it must be true.
This guy is a spastic. Can't be asked.
Well, says who? It's a simple question. Do you not understand the question? Is it that I'm giving you too much to deal with again? Says who? Where has that information come from?
Sixth grade science.
Come on, you can say it. Quantum eraser.
Have a sit down, man. Have a cup of coffee and that, man. You know what I mean? Get some tea and biscuits. Have a little cake, you know? Get one of your favourite cakes, Jem. You know what I mean? Chill out. Put your feet up, man.
More, still no reasoning. Still no reasoning.
You can't be getting your heart rate going at this age.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I'm geriatric. Yeah, I'm really old. Yeah, still no fucking reasoning, though. Still no reasoning, Brummy.
You know, you missed an opportunity to have the discussion that you always ask for, and you didn't have it. I don't understand.
It's all right. We know now.
I've been saying how I don't want to talk to him. I don't want to have the conversation. I don't want to communicate with him.
Those things are true because I'm old. That's how Brummy knows things are true.
That gives you more life experience, more time to learn.
People never learn.
Wow.
I think the beauty of if you put everything to the rigors of quantum eraser's method, or the scientific method as you think it is, not very many things in this world can meet that standard. Therefore, we can't know anything. It really, really boils down to that. We can know water boils. That's where we're stuck.
But Jem's got a problem with that. Why aren't you arguing with Jem? Jem should be jumping down your throat right now for saying that.
Yeah, because I don't think we even know water boils through that method.
True.
You know, the electricity doesn't apply to the QE method.
Is electric? Was it natural science?
It is natural science.
Then how did it not fall under it then? It's not QE's method. It's QE. It's QE's just cited it.
No,
Why
it's
is
just
there these qualifications? Why is there this qualifications of is that natural science? Why is that a thing?
Maybe if you had a half a brain, you wouldn't ask the question.
Well, but maybe you did.
Great.
The things I believe to be true, I accept to be true as knowledge claims. The things I know to be true, I know to be true because there's a body of evidence supporting that truth claim. That's it. I didn't say, well, there's a body of evidence, but I'm going to ignore it because it isn't natural science. That's ridiculous.
No one asked you to do that. The question is...
So why does it matter if something's natural science or not natural science, then if you're not being asked to do that? Why is that relevant?
Because God created the natural science. It all goes back to God and the Creator. That's what it all goes back to. Sorry, Brummy, but it really does. If you guys were more transparent with your real bottom line point, it would make a lot more sense to people who are coming in and thinking that flat earthers just have some kind of error in simple math or something, where it's not that. It's not that. What it is that you're trying to get down to hide what your real point is that this was created and natural science was created by the Creator, and that's what we should be using. And some of you consider the scientific method that everybody else is using as just made up.
Okay, I guess so. When I'm talking about these points, right, I think you guys are probably attaching a lot of maybe if this holds to be true, therefore my entire world shift needs to move. I don't think that's what I'm trying to do. Change the entire world belief system because I arguing a point on whether gas pressure in a container or whether what was this other one that we were talking about right now? And natural science. I think yeah. What I think is important is that the question on the table. If it's $1 million pay, if someone's going to pay you £1 million, you have to answer the right or wrong question. And you read the definition of natural science, and then you tried to fit, observations of planets. Then it wouldn't fit under that criteria, and that, what would you answer? I know we still consider that science.
So
let's put that to the test. What would you say to does China exist? If there's £1 million on the table,
I don't want to be.
If there's £1 million on the table, are you going to say it exists or not?
Yeah, of course I am.
Right. But there's no scientific method. There's no natural science there, is there? The thing is, Jem, because you don't listen, you argue with yourself. I've already been saying this from the very beginning. It's just about the natural science questions
right? Does it fall under the category of natural science? No.
Why does it
doesn't
matter? But why does it matter, Brummy, if it falls under the category of natural science when we've just agreed that we can know things without it?
Because some things fall under certain categories and some things do not fall under certain categories.
But why does that matter? Why does that matter? But why does it matter? I know that.
You shut your damn fucking mouth. Maybe you might fucking listen and learn.
My question was, why does that matter? You don't need to tell me that that's
imbecile.
the case.
You're like a child.
I'm asking you why that's the case.
I'm getting to the point. So, what was the question?
Why does it matter if something is or is not natural science?
Because when you answer the question and you want to answer it correctly, and the question is whether it fits under the category of natural science, you better be right about that. It doesn't fall under. It doesn't change the fucking reality of your paradigm or whether God created the universe because you answered yes or no. And that's the point.
If I say yes and then it isn't natural science, what are the consequences of that?
Then there's no consequence, just answering the question correctly.
Well, you said you better be right. So what happens if I'm not right?
Oh, God, man. You are just painfully boring.
No reasoning again, then.
He is asking a legitimate question.
At the end of the day, is it the right question? Is it the right answer? Yes, it is. You cannot. It doesn't fall under the category. You have a problem with that, not me. I don't have a problem with it.
I'm asking you why it matters if it falls under that category.
You have a problem with it. You think it changes the whole paradigm?
No,
I've told you it doesn't.
Because I tell you why I have a problem with it. Because you reject anything that you say doesn't fall into that category. When, as I've just pointed out, you know things without that even being part of the equation. And that's why I object to it. Because it's dishonestly pretending that that's the only thing that qualifies something as knowledge. If it's not natural science, you can't say you know it. And that's bollocks. And that's what I'm objecting to. And that's what you're offering no reasoning in response to, apart from calling me names.
I don't remember ever talking about anything to do with fucking any of the shit that just babbled out of your mouth, mate. To be honest with you.
Well, then you're a moron. You're a moron.
I feel like I'm talking to
what he's even saying.
You're a child. You're like a child. You're mentally crippled.
Please, does anybody else think that I just didn't put his position clearly, the position that he's put forward?
Followed you the whole time. I think you're right on. I don't know why he's not getting it. I don't know, Brummy, why you're not getting it.
Because his standard response whenever he's challenged is to say, "Oh, well, you just don't understand it." But he can
everyone, let me mute him.
He can never explain what it is that I'm not understanding or what it is I'm missing. It's just I'm too boring to respond to. Fucking
everyone, let me mute him and ask all my friends of whether I'm making a point to make myself feel good. Stroke my ego, everybody. Let me mute and bully him, just like the people I hate.
My friend, they can point out where I'm wrong. Lots of people do, and they have done plenty of times. They could say my approach is wrong, or I'm not making something clear, or anything. It's just you can't offer anything in response, and you know you can't. So what you do is say you don't understand me. And I didn't say what you've just said when you bloody well did.
Nathan Oakley. Is it Nathan Oakley now? I'm sure you're like Nathan Oakley right now.
Brummy. Do you have something you want to talk about then?
I can't. The thing is, like, Twit, you can say that you're
call me names.
This geezer cannot help but just, he can't listen to nothing for a second, and he keeps asking me, explain this to me!
I'm not listening to you just calling me names. What's the point?
He didn't, though, Brummy. You know, he really did ask you some really good follow-up questions, and you didn't respond. But with anything but name
It wasn't really good.
They were, though.
Just keep sucking him off.
I'm not sucking his dick. I'm being fair, Brummy.
You're sucking his dick, man. You're sucking
I'm
his
not,
dick.
though. No, I'm not.
Actually are.
If I had a dick in my mouth, I'd know.
You're jealous. You're jealous, Brummy.
Yeah, damn right, man. Fucking damn right. How am I going to live in my life?
Ask QE.
Why always when Brummy is here, we have to yell on each other. Always. Never happens.
I've been trying for the last 5 minutes to calm this buffoon down, but you know, he's like a fucking child.
You're not going to calm me down by calling me names every single time you speak. That won't calm me down, I promise you.
Stop muting people. Muting people, strawmanning them, twisting everything they're saying.
I'm trying to calm this buffoon down. Do you see a problem with that statement, Brummy?
Yeah, keep muting people, you fucking spastic.
Because you're shouting over me.
You're a spastic, mate.
You spastic.
You don't
Great
fucking
one,
listen to
Brummy.
nothing that's been said to you. You
Good
twist
sound
everything.
argument. Another sound bit of reasoning from Brummy. You're a spastic.
You twist everything that people say. See there, your echo chamber of all you people making you feel like you're making a good point. You're not. You're broken.
I think
Your point is you're spastic and you're old. And QE's right. I can't tell you why, because you're too boring. Great arguments, Brummy. Good sound reasoning there.
Yeah, that makes more sense than you've ever made.
Proud.
That makes more sense than you've ever made.
Yeah, QE's reason for coming up with all of these things and trying to pigeonhole language as he does is to shut down conversation. Because he knows that if he tries to do it on substance, he will fail. So he has to shut down the conversation by playing these games. Oh, that's not natural science!
Sounds like someone I know.
Yeah, but the question hasn't been answered still. Why does it matter if it's not natural science? That hasn't been answered yet.
Self-intuitive. I mean, people with a brain wouldn't ask that question.
Well, maybe I don't have a brain then, Brummy.
I'm sorry, but I'm not here to feature bad, but I'm sure you're bright enough to know there is an answer to that question.
Then can you give it to me?
Oh, exactly. Still talking about the question.
Brummy, you have been repeated for a couple of times for Jim to shut up, because maybe he's gonna learn something. This is the time that you're gonna teach us something. Can you start to teach us something?
I'd like to teach something, but I've been trying for too long.
That sounds like you're running from actually answering.
I'm all right, man. I've got nothing to teach you. I think we all learn from each other. I'm no superior to
you. Have something to teach us. You just told Twitch she doesn't understand something, and she just agreed with you. Now feed her the information.
Defending love. I know it. We know it. We see it every day from Flat Earthers.
You know, Witsit did this the other day as well. When I had a question and he wasn't going to give me the answer because he decided that we weren't going to listen. Now that may be true. 8 out of 10 people in here won't listen to his answer. But when somebody is asking for the answer, then you should give it to them, right?
Do you think maybe sometimes in an environment like this, it's just probably better off not to just get him, like, say something so you got something.
Not in a club.
Listen,
these guys, Brummy, they'd like to get rid of me just as much as they'd like to get rid of you right now. So I'm not in the club. But when I ask for the answer, I want the answer. I've wanted it since Jem asked for it. I thought that was a good question. Why does it matter?
Because whether it fits under the criteria or not, it's going to help you make a determining factor of whether this meets the criteria of the question. It's self-intuitive. Like, if you're answering questions, right? If I say to you, what's 10 times 10? And I say, is it 10,000 or is it 1,000? 10,000 or 100. You have to choose the right answer, don't you? It doesn't matter whether, regardless of the answer, it's going to take you to a paradigm where now that means that everything, God created it. It's ridiculous. I mean, to attach that to whether something fits under the criteria.
Well, thanks for the answer. I still am confused at why it matters, though. Because what are you saying, like, that natural science is the only science we can accept? Or we should accept?
This is baggage that he's attached to the conversation. I've not attached this baggage to the conversation. He's the one who's trying to insinuate that it has to matter, and it has to this, and you're demanding this of people. Like, none of this shit come out of my mouth. Yes, and you guys are trying to get me. You want me to defend. You guys want me to defend
natural science. You did.
This bullshit.
You mentioned it. Nobody else. You brought it into the conversation, and you were going through their method to see if things meet this standard. That's what you were talking about.
And that's where the follow-up question was, why does it matter? You were the one talking about how natural science was the key, was the important thing in the parameters of how it works.
I didn't make that statement. See, Tweet, this is why I question your loyalty. I didn't sit here saying this is the most important question. I said that I was trying to explain why he holds the position he does. his demonized version of what of QE isn't my experience of QE. So I'm trying to explain that, but because I'm defending it, he can't let that come out. He can't let that flourish the way it should do. So he has to take it down these really pedantic, stupid, obnoxious arguments to just tarnish the entire story. So at the end of the day, you guys think of all these things that I'm demanding this of people, and I'm all that. I didn't say any of that, and I ain't willing to entertain it and sit there and justify a straw man.
If you're not demanding it, why does it matter?
Because you said I was demanding it when I never did demand it of people.
Okay, you're not demanding it. All you did was mention it.
One of many things that you stir up. I can't be asked to go through.
Let's talk about this one thing.
I'm not willing to go participate with you.
Because you can't defend your bullshit. You're a liar. You're a liar. You can't defend this bullshit.
You add shit to everything that I say.
Yeah, and you're just calling me names again.
You add shit to my conversation. That's
why I'm asking you. That's why I'm asking you why it matters. That isn't adding anything. I'm asking you why it matters. If you say it doesn't matter, or it matters because of these reasons, that's an answer to my question. But you can't answer my question, because the reason it matters is because QE told you it does, and because it's a way for you to reject anything that doesn't meet that standard. That's how it's used in 24/7. That's how QE uses it. That's how you were using it until you were challenged on it. And then, as usual, you retreated and called me names.
So we had I don't know what the fuck he's smoking, but you need to stop smoking it, kid, because like you're delusional. You're coming out with some absolute fucking mad shit, bro. Like it's nothing to do with what I was saying at all. Like you all this like you just. It's just simply, does it fit the criteria of certain natural science? Not yes or no. Well, no, it doesn't. So
that's not where he ends, though. That's not good enough for an ending, though. Why would you put an ending at that then? If you ask me a question and you say you have to give an answer that fits within the parameters of natural science only, and I give you the answer and it doesn't, and then you dismiss me because I fell outside of the parameters. I wasn't just in natural science law.
No one's saying that you should. No one. No, you're taking.
No, that's what he's doing, though. That's what QE does.
Can I finish?
Yeah,
can I finish?
Go ahead.
Just because you keep attaching QE's baggage and to the conversation, it's completely fucking you guys up. Listen to the question. Does it fit the criteria? No, it doesn't. Does that mean it's not science? I said it very clearly from the beginning that we still consider what CERN do and people making observations of planets as science. But under that definition and that criteria, it doesn't follow that. And that's something that QE has presented. Not that he made it up, not that all the stuff that he's attached to it. I'm
not attaching anything to it, Brummy. If that's the case, if you're saying that that's the case, we do this, we make this inquiry, and we decide if something does or does not meet this criteria. I'm not attaching anything at all to that. What now? What if it doesn't meet the criteria? What now? What do we say about it then?
It's supernatural.
And that's how you get to the next question. I got to the next question because I'm not a buffoon.
But what's the answer to my question? What now? I present something. You say, does it meet this standard? And we decide between us that it hasn't met that standard. Then what?
So they tell you it's supernatural, and that's what he said to me. So I know that's true.
Wow. At the beginning of the conversation, you said, I've never got past the first question. So I said, I have. You asked how. I'm trying to explain to it. And you demonstrate. You did actually. You did actually.
Yeah, I didn't.
How did you get to the next question?
I didn't say any of that at all. I didn't say I haven't got past the first question.
I said some people haven't. I've heard people that haven't gotten past the first question.
I didn't say that at all.
Right, Tweet said it. Tweet said something similar to that.
Right, but remember, you keep telling me I'm not listening to what you're saying, and I'm not getting what you're saying. Just remember that. Go ahead.
Whatever, Jim. You're just a pain in the arse, mate. Fucking hell. So yeah, that's it really. I got to the end questions, and it didn't go to supernatural or nothing like that. Also, I don't think that's correct. Didn't for me.
Well, the first big flaw I see in quantum racers is his claim that natural science only includes things that grow on trees, essentially, and it has to be absolutely something that happens without any man's intervention. That's a flaw, an absolute mistake, a wrong statement. But yet he will stop the conversation at that.
I could go and get the, messages of this, Brummy. I'm telling you, it's supernatural. It's what he says. He leads you down this path and says, if something is not natural, then what is it? And then you have to, the answer that you're led to is it's supernatural. So anything that's not natural science, it's supernatural science, which then you have to listen to where he's going with that as well. Like which angle is he coming at you with this? Is it because at the same time, people who are atheists or evolutionists, I don't know if that's a word, but that they are the opposition at that point, his opposition at that point. So he's saying if you are using anything above natural science, then you are yourself are engaging in supernatural science, just like they claim that you're, as a religious person or a creator believer, are engaging in supernatural beliefs.
That's interesting because I didn't get there because when I got past the first question, he then asked me like an example and says like if I go out and I said if I go out and observe the sun every day, am I doing science and was it following the natural science method? And I thought no, because I can't test it and I can't get through the method, so it wouldn't, And I remember answering that. Then he comes to something else, then he asked another question, and then I had to answer that, and I got that one wrong. I flipped out the first time I went to it. I acted like a normal Glober does, like flipped out, and I remember going like mad on that at the second question because I was like, no, of course it's considered science. This is stupid. Of course it's considered science. The same way Jem acts and the way most people act. How could you say that people in telescopes aren't doing science? It's absurd to say that, and I didn't concede to that, so I flipped out and I came back, I tried again, and then I said, no, it doesn't fall under criteria of actual natural science. So no, that is the honest question. That is the honest answer.
No, that's another thing.
It's an answer based solely on what Quantum Eraser has told you to say. And you're an idiot. You're an idiot for giving that response. A complete moron for giving that response. Sorry, but that's the truth of it. You're a moron. You could easily just Google it. Google it. Just find anyone that defines science in the way that Quantum Eraser does. I'm
glad that you disagree because that makes me realise I'm in the right direction. Do you know what I mean?
That's good. It means that you're just a fried idiot. You smoke too much weed and you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about.
And Quantum Eraser tells you how to think.
If Jem don't agree with it, it's definitely something you should consider.
I don't agree with Quantum Eraser telling people how to think. That's if you think that that's a good way to go, then good for you. But I think that's a mistake.
Especially when what he does is he reduces the amount of things that we can accomplish.
Well, and Jem also brought up the point that it's just if it was like, a handful of scientists around the world that actually have thought the same way, it maybe would be different, but it's just coming from one person on the internet.
Well, it's not coming from what he's doing though is taking like a 6th grade introduction to how do you do an experiment, and that becomes his rules. It's basically the introductory first thing you ever learn about how to do an experiment, but that varies from there.
Right, and he makes that not how to do a simple experiment. He makes that all of science. Anything that isn't this simple experiment, it's not science.
Right, and that works. And then he gets to define science basically as chemistry, physics, and a couple other things, and everything else is a pseudoscience, so we can ignore them. The shape of the Earth, ignore. The whole Cavendish experiment, we can ignore because Cavendish is therefore gravity doesn't exist. Therefore, blah blah blah. And he takes all this from his stupid idea that this is how you do an experiment.
And that's why, Brumby, when you guys say it's not his method, it's all over the internet. That's when it becomes his. You can, of course, find this method. Usually it's in stuff designed for children or for, very elementary level science. But regardless of that, you will find this method posted on the internet. But does it define all of science? Are other people saying that? No, they aren't. No one anywhere is defining all of science by that method. That's why it's only quantum erasers, for that reason. Too boring. Too boring.
I don't
No, I
think
just-
that-
Rami,
I don't- Everything you said doesn't really, nothing's really hit home with. I don't. My experience doesn't match what you're saying. Mine's completely different, and no matter how many people in this room disagree with me, it's not my experience. So just
but it's not about this room.
Hold on.
Opinion.
Well, what I've just said is the only person who is defining science in that way is quantum eraser. And you're saying that's not your experience. So who else is defining science in that way? I mean, obviously, when I say only him, I don't mean flat earthers and 24/7 people. I mean, independent of him, who else is doing that if that's not your experience?
Yeah, I think there's lots of people even the people that came in, astrophysicists and the few different science people came in, and I forgot what their academics were, but they sound very qualified, very professional.
Can you cite someone who is defining science in the same way as QE?
There's a few. If you want to sit through the hours of different people that you interview.
No, I want you to cite someone. You're making the claim.
I'm just telling you what I've experienced. Yeah, I've seen that. I don't care whether you believe or not. I'm not here to prove.
I don't believe you. I think you're talking complete bullshit. You didn't completely made that up. I think.
If you say so, I don't really care what you
Well,
think.
there is a
Because
limit.
once again, you can't offer reasoning. This time, you thought, I better not call him names again, else he'll point out I'm calling him names again. So I'll just lie, is what you've done this time. Good job. Good job.
Expert in narrative spinning, man. You just chat absolute waffle, man.
Show me I'm wrong.
I can't, mate. I don't care. I don't care what you believe. I don't care if you believe what I'm saying. I don't agree with your.
You should care what you believe, though, Brummy. You should care. If that's true, if that statement's true, you should be able to cite someone. But you know it's not true. You know you had to lie to make that statement, and that should bother you. The fact that you had to lie there should bother you.
Why does it bother you that people think differently?
It doesn't.
Lie or think different?
It bothers me that people are dishonest liars.
Okay, so people that think different are dishonest.
People that lie, not think differently. I've got no problem with people thinking differently. I've got problems with people thinking dishonestly.
No, you got a problem with anybody thinks differently.
No,
I don't think he does.
I think he does.
That's not a fair assessment.
He
No
is.
way. He's sitting. He would be in here.
Sorry.
We're friends on the internet,
Twitter and I disagree on loads of things.
Cool.
but we agree on a lot of things too,
Right.
and we have fun. So you can. He definitely doesn't just dismiss people because or disallow people.
That means there's no truth to what I said.
That's right.
think there is
Show
no
me
truth
I'm
to
wrong,
what you
Brummy.
said.
You're entitled to
That's
think
right.
that. What you
Just show
think
me
that?
I'm wrong. It's so simple. Just
You've been told
find
to think that.
someone. Just find one of these reputable sources that's saying roughly the same thing. It's not. It shouldn't be that difficult.
Apart from the people on the microphone agreeing with you, the audience and people that can see know deep down that you listen to the way you're talking. You are
You
demonstrating.
wouldn't even be here.
Hold on,
If he
hold on.
did,
You-
if
hold
he
It's
did,
on.
exasperating
hold on.
that you are now
Keep talking over
demonising me because all I've done is you've made a statement and I've said, all right, can you back that up? Show me whether. And now because I've done that, you're demonising me. So the audience will see what a terrible person you are for asking me for a single citation to back up what I've just said. Because you know you bloody made it up, you lying.
You want me to dig through all that fucking footage to send you a little link to go, yeah, I watched that? Is that what you want me to do?
So what you're saying is now there is only one source for this, and it's a citation from some debate video. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I heard him debate. Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Is that a problem with that? What's your problem with that? I heard people debating. Yeah, professional people. I've heard him debate a lot of people. I've told you that. You want me to provide evidence for it, which is I'm not going to do that. I don't care if you.
Well, my claim is
you think I'm lying. Hold on. You think I'm lying? Good for you.
I know you're lying.
Good for you. I don't care if you think I'm lying. You don't know I'm lying because I ain't. So just keep talking. Have your opinion. I respect your opinion. I respect other people's.
All right. Well, okay. I'll go through the debate for you then, and I'll prove that you're lying. So link me to the debate. Let's see the debate. And I'll go through it and let's see if this guy defines science in the same way that Quantum Eraser does during this debate. And I'll bet you £100 right now. You are full of shit.
Whatever, if you say so. Not everyone's like you. Not everyone thinks like you because the reason you're unable to learn things and the reason why you stick to these, weak arguments, why you don't go into the details, because you're incapable.
At least I've got an argument from me.
Because you're actually
you're a spastic and you're old. They're your arguments.
The reason you debate the way you do is because you actually are mentally weak.
Another ad hoc. How many ad hocs?
Brummy. Brummy, you know what?
He's offered nothing in defense of his position, has he? Not a single thing.
He's nothing but rhetoric. He's pure bullshit rhetoric. That's it. Right. You're a dumb cunt, Brummy. Don't think otherwise.
You're right, Kev. I can never
you're dishonest, dumb cunt. Don't forget that part.
Kev's always right.
So
you're fucking right. I'm right about this, and you can't do a goddamn thing about it. Show me to be wrong then. Show me to be wrong. Show anybody here to be wrong.
I don't need to prove
something other than your stupid fucking retarded rhetoric. Try that for a change.
I got nothing to prove to you, Kev. Kev, I got nothing to prove to you. Stay relaxed, Kev.
Could it be that quantum eraser's strategy for determining facts about reality is flawed?
No, not to my investigation.
So then you would know why natural laws and.
If I had a flaw with it, honestly, if I had a flaw with it, I'd raise it with him and I'd challenge him on it.
Bro, I have given you an example. Electricity doesn't apply to quantum eraser scientific method. I have given you an example, and you say because none of them.
I already give myself an example at the beginning of the conversation. If you were listening, if you clean the shit out your ears and listen, I'd clearly said that observing planetary systems is not considered science under that definition, not natural science anyway. But he would not consider that to be science, which I understand why he believes that. But yeah, I didn't say that is something that I carry and I hold, but it still got through.
The bottom line then, so that you can say that nothing in space has been scientifically proven. Is that all that this is about?
No, there's a difference between scientifically proven and does it meet the requirements of natural science? There's a massive difference, and you guys are just so unable to get past that.
Once again, you're putting such an emphasis on it being natural science, and you're not explaining why natural science is the main thing.
Coupled with disparaging us and telling us how we're just too stupid to get this, apparently.
Well, what, to get it yet?
Oh yeah, I get it. I get it very well. Right. At no point have I not got it, Brummy.
Can I explain? What is it then? What did you get out of it?
You're a bullshitter, and you rely on quantum eraser to try and win arguments so that you can feel good about yourself on the internet. And this is the method that you're using to try and win arguments. And this is why it doesn't stand up to scrutiny when you're asked about how you reach knowledge claims about reality upon it, because it's not about finding knowledge about reality. It's about winning arguments on the internet.
For me, it's just realizing how stubborn people can be, and how they can carry bitter, stubborn problems to the death, and how people can be suffering, and how people are.
This is just name calling, no reasoning. It's just telling us how crap we are again.
Just saying that, that people can be very, very stubborn, and and that's just
including yourself, Brummy.
Yeah, I guess so. We all can be. People I find it interesting how people are so embedded in the ways that they think, and I find it interesting, and that's
You're embedded, aren't you? Because you're saying this is the way to think, but I don't know why I have to think this way. It's
why do you have a problem with everything I say? Why do you have a problem with everything I say? Can I say anything?
Because you're making a thinly veiled attack on us yet again, saying that we're just too stubborn to get this and to change our minds on anything. When you were sitting there saying this is why I use this method, or I use this method, and when I say why, you've got no answer apart from you're a spastic and you're old. But it's stubborn and stuck in our ways, not
I was
you.
only just when I talk about that, I was talking about being generalizing about being in this room. You said I wasn't here to win arguments, but so you were speaking for me. So I thought I'd clear the air a bit and say, well, one of the main reasons I'm here because I do find it interesting that how stubborn people can be. And I wasn't even talking about you, but you
I didn't say that. I didn't say you were here to win arguments. Did not say that at all.
You did.
No, I didn't. I said that method. I said the method that QE deploys.
I used QE to win everything.
I'll finish what I'm saying since you didn't listen again. I said QE's method is deployed in order to win arguments on the internet, not to find out facts about reality. I said absolutely nothing about you coming in here to win arguments. Did not say that at all or anything remotely close to the meaning of that.
You said I use quantum erasers arguments to come in here and win arguments.
No, I didn't.
That's what you said.
You're lying. No, I did not. Now you're lying.
Now you're lying.
Now you're lying because I've corrected you and you're saying the same stupid shit again. You are lying. I did not say that. I said what I've just said I said.
Hey, he lying.
I heard you clear as day. Mate. You just use quantum eraser to come in here and win arguments, stupid arguments. So I said, well, the reason I don't come in here for that reason, and that's why it inspired the response that I said. Thank you very much. Keep shouting louder, keep muting me. It empowers you, makes you feel good because you win little arguments on the internet. Maybe you projected all that onto me.
He hasn't even won an argument because there's no debate.
There isn't an argument, is it? I make a point and then you call me names. I make another point and then you call me a different name. That's not an argument or a debate.
There's not even an argument. Just keep shouting at people. Makes you like gamma. It's a gamma, dude. Just a gamma. Just a gamma, dude.
Oh my god.
You're just a gamma, dude. Oh my god, just a gamma.
I heard a new guy.
Gamma panda, man. Gamma panda.
Does the new guy want to talk? I heard somebody else trying to get in.
Yeah, I said, what are y'all getting out of this?
Oh, is that Nugs? Nugged up?
Nah, this ain't Nug.
Oh, I thought I recognized your voice. I'm bad at that.
I just said, though, this ain't Doug. This is partner. I'm trying to figure out what y'all getting out of this, though.
Well,
Mate,
just
somebody want to win an
settle.
argument, though?
No, there wasn't an argument. But see, there has to be two people that are actually engaging in a debate in order for there to be a side that wins. But if one side refuses to answer any questions, then there's not going to be a debate, right?
I've answered your question. Twit, stop being dishonest, man.
I'm not.
You are. I have answered the question. You asked me to answer the question of what he meant by the scientific method, and I did explain it to you. You said thanks for answering it. Then he went on another tangent. So I did that. I do answer questions, but the reason I don't want to engage with Gamma Panda is because he's obnoxious and he turns everything I say to shit.
But
and
you
it's
keep
boring.
talking.
It's boring. I don't care.
Names though.
Well, I can't. He keeps muting me. He keeps muting me. He keeps muting me. Keeps shouting and just talking nonsense.
It's because you keep talking over
like
people.
Like the spastic he is.
You keep talking that trash, though, bro. Stop talking.
It's good.
Do you push his buttons on purpose then? Because everybody would get upset if they were having that done to them.
Oh no, bro.
Yeah. Well, then you start having something for people that he mutes and shouts over and strawmans and misunderstands.
Guess what?
You sit there with your pom poms and keep licking his ass and going.
You can never explain to me where I've misunderstood, Brummy. You can't say what I didn't hear correctly or what I misunderstood. You just tell me that I have. And that's because you're a dishonest cunt who cannot come up with even a single response to any of the challenges that are offered to you. It's pathetic.
Yeah, he calls me dishonest of all people. Oh. Anyways, let's move on.
All you've done is call me names.
Let's move on. I don't need to engage, man. We don't need to go down there, man. You can't understand anything.
Yeah, that's what it is. I didn't understand it. That's what it is. That's when you're being dishonest.
Oh god, your responses
I'm
are
not
demonstrations.
Why is it if because I'm a girl that I'm cheerleading? Why is that why can't it just be what I'm engaging in this conversation? I'm part of
Who said just because you're a girl? Oh, who said it just because you're a girl? I said it to my mates as well when they cheerlead in the lads group in WhatsApp when all the lads are cheering for each other. Go look at the cheerleaders. It's what I call men cheerleaders as well. Love, all right. You're not special because you got a fanny.
Yeah, no, you're not special.
Such a low life.
They're all low lives. How is that cheerleading? It's not. It's
everything that Jen Panda says is amazing. Every guy says it's wrong. Get a grip, man. Get a grip, man.
I think he just being
That's
funny.
not what happened.
I think he's just being funny.
Well,
don't take it personally.
That dumbass in the chat's not being funny, is she?
What do you mean?
Oh, is it about me?
Well, you did make it about yourself, didn't you?
No, I didn't actually. You did.
Well, you sort of did when you typed that in the chat.
Well, I've been listening, and it's like every time that anything gets said, you're right there behind Jim.
Yeah,
and I have been behind you.
That's what I said. The people can see anyway. The people can see. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You might be fooling. You might be screaming at me, but everyone can see how you're acting. You just, you know,
You newbies are just newbies. Twitter and I have had blazing rows over all sorts of things regularly. Right. And I mean about, political issues and things like that, massive ones.
Is it possible that Twit actually agrees with Jen on the points that she's been agreeing with? I mean, that
Yeah,
seems
I'm
like
not allowed to because that's cheerleading, Moyoc. You're not allowed to agree with somebody.
No, all they're saying is it did look a bit suspicious that you was negative of everything I said and very supportive of everything he said. And
You
earned
it.
You don't know
Twit. You earned it, Brummy. You earned it.
Yeah.
You don't know Twit. There's no shrinking violet. When has Twit ever backed away from something she doesn't agree with? Just does not ever happen.
She's just a wallflower.
And Brahmi, what about me? Why everybody was attacking Tweet when I have been talking for Panda as well?
I agree with Panda.
Why you cherry pick it? Why you cherry pick a tweet? Everybody have been cherry pick a tweet, not me.
Everyone likes the sound of Twit's voice. That's why everyone likes the sound of her voice. It's like that little. It's nearly annoying. It's nearly annoying. It's like, but it's fringing on it. Like it's like, nearly like that.
Because you know, because you.
It can get there, Brummy.
It can get there. Well, you said I was with that.
Brummy, I disagree with you on the nature of the words that come out of your mouth. And that's what I disagree with. You occasionally will say some pearl of wisdom, but they're very few and far between.
At least you know that there's a little fucking decent brain cell floating around in there. Do you know what I mean? I don't claim to be the fucking smartest guy. I don't claim to be a superior in what's been said, but I do hear a lot of fucking problems with both sides, and they're both like, that's what I see a lot in life, and that's what intrigues me, because I feel like how are we ever going to fucking sort out peace or world peace when people can't even sort out the fucking problem with somebody that fucking poked them in the fucking class when they were fucking 7. And now they fucking hate the person for that, or they've passed down some sort of grudge, and people have these like fucking, they can't share or they can't accept other ways.
You mean like you with Jem?
I feel like people could look at someone could look at a piece of art. For example, I went once on a date to some art museum, and I walked around, and I never had such a worst time in my life. I had the worst time of my life, and she was trying to show me these art things. She was really trying to get me into it. I just never felt so uncomfortable. It's like, it's a fucking piece of wood. Do you know what I mean? But some people don't see that. So how am I supposed to be like criticizing people for seeing what I don't see?
But see, that's the whole thing was that when you come into a room and people ask you, without yelling or without calling you names, ask you to explain why you see what you see, and you can't do that, that's frustrating.
It's hard to explain to somebody that can't play the guitar how to how to play the guitar. It's just
actually it happens every day.
Is that true that we can't play the guitar? Because in this case, we're just talking about being able to think in it, being able to take some steps of reasoning from one step to the next.
What I'm
Right?
saying, for you to,
You're saying we're not capable of doing that, and I don't.
What I'm saying is, if I watch a football game, I don't watch football. I hate football. I watch a football game. Now I watch it with somebody that watches it every day. The person who watches it every day is going to see things that I cannot see. Do we agree on that?
I don't
Do we
see
agree
how
on that? Do we agree on it?
No, I don't think I do.
You don't agree. Of course, you wouldn't agree on it. But obviously, the expert who watches football every day is going to see things that I ain't going to see. That's just obvious.
Well, what sort of things? How do you mean?
Nuances of the game.
I think he will understand some things that you don't understand, but I don't think he will necessarily see things that you don't see. I don't think that's really accurate.
If somebody knows the behavior of players and knows the fucking ins and outs of players and they've watched millions of games and they've watched different sorts of teams and they've got loads of experience and lots of knowledge on how players react, and there's a lot more information they're going to be processing. So for me for that person to explain all the intricate details of what they're seeing to somebody that hasn't got the understanding to differentiate them is basically what you're asking.
I don't think that's true. And I think that someone could easily explain to you what the offside rule is and you would understand it. And they could explain to you, I don't know, whether it's a golden goal or a penalty shootout to finish the match if it's a draw, or aspects of how the league works that the match is in. There's no reason why you wouldn't be able to understand any of those things.
They would have to get their head around.
You're literally saying that this is such an enlightened way of thinking that we're just not capable of grasping it. But you aren't able to even begin to explain what it is. You don't even embark on step one of explaining it to us. You just decide in advance that we can't, it's beyond us, and call us names. And I don't think that that's an honest position.
Honestly, why'd you have to just add all that to that conversation? It's not necessary. I'm simply just giving you an analogy why it's impossible to literally explain to somebody that has no experience in something. The experience. You can only get the experience.
Okay, so
Don't interrupt me. It's not fucking time to talk. Seriously, just chill. It's not
what thing is it that you have experience of that enables you to understand QE's approach that we don't have experience of?
I've already said
call me names.
Somebody that goes to an art museum, looks at art, they can see things that I can't see. Trying to get a point across to you.
No, but let's forget about the football and the art.
I'm not going to talk anymore. Anyone else want to have a conversation?
You always have to introduce some irrelevant.
Shut up, bro. Bye.
But Brummy, you always have to introduce some irrelevant analogy. I accepted the analogy. I talked to you about the analogy, and then I went back to the thing that we're actually talking about. And the minute I do, as I said, you've got no answer. You can't take this analogy back to quantum eraser. You're sat there saying, you guys just don't get it. And this is like a football match where someone's got years of experience of following football. So what is it that you have years of experience of that we don't have? This is your analogy. This is how you've laid it out. What is it that we haven't got that you have got?
The ability to let it go. You have to be able to let it go. You have to be able to let the science go. Then that's what you have to do.
No singing.
That's what the difference is between you and Brummy right now. Is you don't. That's what he's saying with the art example. See, when you look at art, some people just see a painting, but other people go really in depth and see a whole lot of other things that you can't see on a painting. They see things. And it's an envisionment in their brain, and you have to be able to let go your logic and say, no, it's just red paint on a canvas. He's saying you'd have to let it go. You'd have to defer to somebody who has a vision, and you have to explore that angle. And you can't do that. That's the difference between you and him right now. That's what he was saying.
I think, as always, he it's usually his strategy is to introduce some pointless analogy when he could just talk about the thing that we're talking about. But no, he has to introduce some. So I accept his analogy. I explain to him within his analogy how this does not apply to what he's applying it to, and he's straight away, I'm doing it all wrong, and I'm a spastic, and I'm old, and I just can't be talked to, and it's because it's exactly as I say. It's a fucking silly game, internet game that only works in 24/7, and the minute it's properly challenged in a conversation, it falls apart every time.
Well, I mean, that's obvious. That's why they're not here, right? If QE was, he'd be here. He'd be here every day if he was really secure in his ideas or whatever and his knowledge.
You can't debate without the mute button and volume control.
Right.
I used it enough times, I have to say. I don't want to be too hypocritical.
Remy got shouty,
No,
though.
well, you do. You at least unsilence people after you mute them for.
It was only so I could get my piece out. I know I ramble on a bit, but
Yeah, there's no cheerleading needed in this situation. I mean, a fair call. Anybody watching knows who was getting the better of who in this debate, discussion, whatever you want to call it. You posed a lot of questions that were reasonable, and they went unanswered.
right. And it does frustrate me when, I have to say, it does trigger me really when all I get so often is, you just don't get it, and you're saying things that I didn't say when I wasn't. You know,
you got to remember, Jem, Brummy is a troll.
Stand the you don't get it part. It's because it is a different way of thinking, and you won't get it, and you shouldn't get it unless you want to let go of a lot of things that you know. It's basically a letting go process.
Right,
you
but
have
I think.
to
Let
go of
if
knowledge.
you would just admit that, I would be happy with that. If you just said, "Well, look, I just, I want to believe this to be true,"
right?
So I do. Fine.
Yeah.
I don't think he has the vocabulary to defend his point that way.
But he pretends he's working to this higher standard. He actually used that word. I know it's a high standard. Like Jem said, it's a high standard. I never said that.
And I hate when I think in this room like an echo chamber, And for thousands of times we have been in contradictory opinions. Yesterday with gravity, I have been in contradictory opinion. With curve, I have been in a contradictory opinion. With a lens, fucking hell, it's not an echo chamber. We are arguing about something that we have put it on table.
They should stick with one or the other. Like if it's going to be a philosophy argument, then stick with that. But don't try. This intermingling is not working well. Like you can't have it both ways. But it's odd. It's because in one sentence it could have both, and it's hard to pick which one they're going with at what time. Like, is this a philosophy discussion, or is this a factual science discussion?
I think if the beginning of your conversation is, are the things we're going to discuss natural science, then I think it is a philosophical discussion, because you're saying, stuff that isn't this needs to be left out of our discussion, and we're going to reach truth conclusions based only on that. And I that there is the philosophy. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, and which is exactly why you were spot on with the question. At least I think so. When you said, "Why does that matter?" Because that was pivotal to where we were going with the conversation, and he refused to answer why it mattered. He was just leaving it open ended, which was where was it going to go from there? Which is fine if you just want to do that, but you asked a question that needed to be asked. What does it matter? That's very pivotal to the whole conversation, to the whole discussion. Why does it matter?
There's also another tactic of the QE and stuff to say it's not natural science, forgetting, of course, that when they talked about natural science back when they defined it, they meant anything that is not supernatural science. In other words, anything that God's not involved in is natural science.
I brought that up because Quantum Eraser actually told me that. Like we had this conversation. Yes, we talked about it on 24/7.
Wow, I'm surprised.
He said, "What's above natural? What is it when it's above natural?" And I was what?
Okay,
and I said supernatural, and he's like, "Okay, then are we going to have a supernatural discussion, or are we going to have a discussion about science?"
Because normally to define natural science, it has to be man-made, which means Foucault's pendulum is not natural science because it's not, it's not natural. It's man-made, therefore it's not natural, which is not what natural science is.
Well, I mean, he said shoes are supernatural because they're not, shoes don't appear on the earth. Yeah.
Yes, but
I mean,
they have souls.
That's dumb. Yeah, they have souls. No, that's dumb because shoes are definitely part of the. I mean, we make them. Yeah, we manufacture them, but we didn't. God didn't invent shoes.
But we created them. So there's the difference. That's why it's not. That's why this is never going to be a good mesh between this group and that group, because it's not about actual science. It's about. The bottom line is it's actually a creator versus man-made is basically what the argument is. And one side is trying to, in a roundabout backdoor way, trying to have you see that this was created. And, if you create a shoe, that's not science or any kind of science technical detail that went into it. That's man-made ability.
But you
men can't create the earth. God created the earth.
Yeah, but that's not what natural science meant, and that's not what natural science is. What they're trying to say, what they're basically doing, again, the same way they do with the scientific method thing, is they try to limit the discussion into areas that they can control and try to limit the discussion, saying, "Oh no, that's not natural science. Foucault's pendulum, man-made it. It's not natural science."
Right, and you can just reject it out of hand because it hasn't met that label. When I don't think these labels should even be part of the conversation.
Right.
It's just, is there evidence? How good is the evidence? How compelling is the evidence?
But that's why he wouldn't answer your question, Jem.
Right.
Because if he answers that question, then he knows he sounds silly. At that point, then he sounds absurd.
Because it's more, right. And the thing is, it's more fundamental than rejecting, shoes. It's, it rejects measurements.
Everything.
You can't make a measurement of something because the measurement on its own isn't science.
Yeah. Right. So they want to take you all the way back to natural science and keep you there, and then they can fill you with the rest of it, which will have nothing to do with knowing how to calculate the distance from here to the sun or knowing what the moon is made of. Sorry, Scott.
I'm sorry. I was just saying that's not natural science, though, right? That's what you're just saying. Is that natural science would be everything that isn't supernatural. So that would be all the things we're saying would be natural science.
No, what they're saying is pretty much just take let's take Eve, for example, and put her on this planet, and everything that's on this planet, it needed to survive, comes from natural science. You eat from the natural food. You can make shelter from the natural world. You can make clothing from the natural world. It came from there. But it's not... So any act that has to do with natural things that were naturally grown and things are natural science.
I think the trick is, I think the thing that we're arguing, the thing we're trying to point out is that when the phrase was first sort of invented or used, natural philosophy is what it was, and when it was first used, it was what Newton and what's his name, Francis Bacon was one of the guys who really sort of incarcerated this word, or what do you call it? Whatever, made the word come true. And what he said about it was, we have these two worlds that we live in. We have the world in which we can touch things, we can feel things, physical things, heat and fire, all the stuff that affects our bodies, and then we have our spiritual lives, the lives that we have with God, where we have a relationship with God, we have prayers, and we have ghosts, and we have angels. And he was saying, everything that is on that side, in the spiritual side, is called supernatural. Everything that is on the side in which you can touch it is natural. And our science, we want to focus on things that we can learn about what's physical that can touch us. And we do not, in science, ever worry about or ever talk about spirituality. We don't talk about God. We don't not because we don't think they're true. We do think they're true, by the way, in that case, and a lot of scientists do. Not because we don't think they're true, but because we don't have a way of generating true conclusions about it. You have to come up with that stuff with a different kind of mindset. And so that's what the natural science, like supernatural division, was about originally. Was about the physical world, the real world, and then the spiritual world, your spiritual life.
Right, which means that's the example they'll use, is that's why we don't know they're anything but lights in the sky. Like we can give them any name we want, but they're just lights in the sky because that falls into the supernatural category.
No, in conclusion, everything is falling into observation. If it's observable and you can
Yeah,
tangibly
we observe lights in the
do
sky.
it,
That's
But the
true.
lights in the sky are part of the natural
it's
world. They're not
natural.
supernatural.
Yes, it's a natural science. Yes.
Yeah, but
If
we
it's
don't know what they
observable,
are, though.
Yes, we do know what they are.
No, I know we know what
No,
they are,
we
but when we go one step further and try to tell people, oh, it's a ball of gas, it's
Well, yeah,
93 million miles away, that's when they get pissed. They say that's supernatural.
Oh no, but I would say this way is when if we were to say, or if someone was to try to tell them, hey, those lights in the sky are angels, that's when they say, well, now you're not talking about science anymore because you've now stepped outside of something that would be physical into something to be, invisible or spiritual. If you say it's a gas of fire up there, they can say that sounds like bullshit, or I think let's see some evidence, or I think you're wrong. But I don't think they can say that's not science because you're still talking about things in the physical. You know what I'm saying?
But they do, though. I agree with you, but they do, though. You might
They
as well say it's
absolutely
an
do.
angel.
Brummy
Yeah.
actually gave that example.
Yes.
He said that his answer to the first question was he could see the sun, and he had to admit that wasn't science. And then the second question was astronomy and astronomers, and he had to admit that wasn't science or natural science. So they absolutely, because these are just observations, and that's not good enough.
And then they
it isn't
think
good
we're
enough to just observe it. You've got to be able to do the experiment on it.
And you're just a
Otherwise,
guy.
it's supernatural.
Right, because you're just a guy who's making up some numbers that they just are supposed to believe.
Right.
Or you're just a guy, a simple man who's telling them that this is made up of these molecules and this gas or whatever. They're just supposed to believe you. They can't go test that. That's what they say. I'm just repeating what they say. I don't believe that. That's not what I think. But I've heard them. And then that falls into, and this is in what I've listened to in 24/7, that would fall into their idea of supernatural because it's not science to them.
You could repeat them. You could make the observations.
You can't.
Yes, you can.
You see a light in the sky, period.
Yeah, but
you have to agree because everything is coming from the philosophical point of view. It's not coming from the pure scientific point of view. If I see something in the sky, and in my point of view, I cannot explain it, doesn't mean somebody else have been explaining it.
No, it does. To them, it does. It means that nobody can explain it. It's just a light in the sky. And you can create a story. That's why they say...
Yes. So
nice
you
story.
create a philosophy on something that it's natural, observable.
Well, I think part of what's going on is that you're right. You're correctly describing what they do, and I think what we're saying, but maybe not articulating well, is that what they do that you're describing is irrational, illogical, not reasonable, is broken. Like it doesn't make sense. Yeah. So that's I think the disconnect is that where we keep arguing against what this. You're just saying, look, that's what they do. That is a fact. That is what they do.
I'm not on their side here with this. I disagree with them, but it is what they do. Period.
Yeah, but but what's frustrating is that it doesn't seem justified. They don't seem to have a good reason for doing it.
They don't, and they can't answer the question, or at least Brummy couldn't answer the question when Jem he nailed it with the question. Okay, I'm cheerleading. I've got my pom poms on. So he got the right question, and Brummy exposed himself by not being able to answer it. He said he did, but he really didn't. Because I don't think that I'm not going to say he doesn't know. He followed up with trying to explain it by saying, here, how art, you have to some people can see it. Some people just see a piece of wood, but some people see more. He was trying to show Jem that he's the person who can see the art, and Jem couldn't see the art. Well, that's where it's not really actually about science anymore, right? This is about he can see something that we can't see because we don't see the art. And when he sees for whatever reason, when he listened to Quantum Eraser, he saw whatever he saw, and now he's let go. He's chose to let go, release the science that he was taught. And the reason behind why that's not just a light in the sky, it's a gas giant. It's a star, and we can make tools that can measure from how far away it is, within a certain degree of accuracy, right? He has to let that go because he can't verify it. No man can verify it. So he's let it go. It's just a light in the sky. It's a pretty light, and we like it, and we need it, but it's just
This sort of narcissism that these guys have, it really pisses me off.